Yesterday, on campus, a student approached me and asked me what I was going to talk about. And I said leadership. And she replied, "That's a great topic. She also wants to take leadership courses." And I told her, "That's a great idea. Better start now, because there will be the time that you will be in charge of people." The problem with leadership courses, however, is that most leaders I have been working with have also taken leadership courses, and they end up full of leadership self-doubts. One of the most renowned global consulting firms just recently asked more than 7,000 leaders from more than 100 countries, "Do you have the leadership capabilities to overcome the challenges ahead?" Only 17% of all leaders replied definitely yes. Now, if you in the audience are among the 17%, the very few who are at ease with leading people, groups and organizations, that's good for you, but think about it. The rest of your team and broader organization is pondering, how do I become an effective leader? How do I lead effectively? They look for answers, but the answers they get are always dissatisfying, because leadership advice comes in piecemeal fashion, full of buzzwords. One leader I worked with described it as follows. He said, "Patrick, leadership advice comes in piecemeal fashion. One day I hear that I must be humble and strong at the same time. Then another day I attend a leadership course and am told not to micromanage, but instead to inspire and empower. And certainly once a year, I'm also invited to a leadership offsite where I participate in some trust-building activities. But to be honest, Patrick, as soon as I'm back in the trenches, I do what I've always been doing. I lead following my gut feeling." I have a lot of sympathy for this and understanding. Leadership advice indeed comes in piecemeal fashion. It lacks a system that we and our team members can follow systematically to develop our leadership skills day in and day out. Now, I'm here because I have developed such a framework. A framework that will help you make the leap from student, founder, entrepreneur, manager, or executive to highly executive or highly executive leader. It is a framework that you can apply in your student groups, you can apply in your startup, your business, or if you want to climb the corporation leadership ladder in your corporations. It's called the leadership house. Like all houses, also the leadership house is built on a solid foundation. And this solid foundation for effective leadership is trust. The power of trust became obvious to me when I asked a leadership team I worked with what the main reason was for their ultimate success. The CTO did not hesitate a second and replied, "The reason was trust. We built trusting relationships with each other. We let our egos take the back seat and always focused on what was best for the team. We always played the ball, not the player." Trust is so powerful because it provides us with a strong feeling of safety. If we feel safe, we do not hesitate to speak up or to challenge one another, ask for help, or offer help. If we are in trusting relationships in safe environments, we know it's never about us or the person, it's always about the topic and the team. This is why trust is so important. If you want to build strong teams and want to be an effective leader, you need to build trust. Only on the basis of trust, you can then establish a strong team. In today's environment, we won't achieve something alone. We will need the help of others. If I ask leaders how to build a strong team, the answer is often something like, "I put the right people in the right roles." But is this enough? Just think about sports. How often have you seen teams consisting of the best individual players in the right positions lose against clear underdogs? Very often. Very often we have seen this. Obviously, it is not enough to have the best people in the right positions. There is something else. There is a piece missing. And last week, James Hetfield, the frontman of Metallica, they have a metal band, I think has found the piece and has nicely described it. He said that he and his colleagues were actually mediocre musicians. Only when they worked together, something special would happen. Only when they work together. That's the point. Teamwork is the missing piece. Only if you can establish teamwork, your team is more than the sum of the parts. And the next pillars of the leadership house will help us generate teamwork in our teams. In fact, if you think about having the right people in the right roles, in my view, having the right people has two dimensions. The first is obvious and we all know it. We need functional fit. Are the people in our teams qualified for the roles? But there's another dimension, and I believe this dimension is at least as important as the first dimension, and this is cultural fit. Do the people in our teams embrace the culture in terms of how we do work together as a team? The power of culture has been confirmed by many studies already. It sets the best from the rest. Just recently, a McKinsey study confirmed again this result after having researched more than 1,000 organizations. The question is, how do we generate a strong culture? It's again a buzzword in leadership. In my experience, there are 3 steps that we need to take. The first is, we must have a compelling purpose. Why do we do what we do? Is this compelling and meaningful? People today want to have meaningful work. If our purpose is not meaningful, they won't follow us. We need to cast an inspiring vision. Where do we want to get? What do we want to achieve? Is this inspiring and attracting great people to follow us? And then the third element is shared values. Shared values is a pillar of the leadership house. Because if we share the same values, we agree upon we want to work as a team. We don't have people, lonely wolves, and people who want to collaborate in our teams. We agree on how we want to work together. If purpose, vision, and values are aligned, you can expect to see your team members thrive. You will see the expected behaviors. So let me pause here for a second and let us imagine. What if you went back to work on Monday or to school, to university, and started building trusting relationships in your teams? If you ensured that the right people are in the right roles, but don't stop there, but ensure that the right people in the right roles also work based on the same values, I am convinced you will become a more effective leader, a leader capable of building strong teams. Now, if you are capable of building strong teams, the next step is set it up for success. Make sure your teams turn purpose and vision into reality. Purpose and vision are important. They are buzzwords still, but they attract others to follow us. The problem with purpose and vision, however, is that they are rather intangible. We cannot just tell our team members, here's the purpose, here's the vision. Let's go and make it happen. We need to also clarify the what. The what in terms of what do we actually have to do to turn vision into reality. Now, many leaders I work with think that they have to tell their teams what to do, to give direction. But think about it. What have we done so far? We have put the right people in the right roles. We have ensured they trust each other and share the same values. Now, why would we tell these team members, team members who are better skilled than we are, at least in their domain expertise, what to do. For me, this has never made any sense. I personally concur with what Steve Jobs said. He said, we do not hire people to tell them what to do. We hire people, smart people, so they can tell us what to do. So I always suggest we do the same. We invite our team members, our strong team members, into the goal-setting process. We ask them, what do we need to do to achieve our vision? And this is the topic of shared goals. Shared goals are not goals that we as leaders impose on our teams, because these goals will not become their goals. They will remain our goals. But if we involve our people in the goal-setting process, they become the owners of the goals, and they will do whatever they can to achieve them. And this is pretty powerful from a psychological perspective. Now, to set them up for success, there's one additional pillar that I want to mention here. This is joint plans. Now you have a shared goal, and I always ask the teams also to translate these shared goals into joint plans. Joint plans show what each team member and team leader needs to deliver, not do, but deliver, so we achieve our goals. Let me give you an example. One team has identified that we must generate product market fit. This was one shared goal. Now the joint plan, it can be a business plan, it can be a financial model, or just a project plan, details what each team member must do and deliver so they achieve the goals. And the second part is really powerful, and I will come back to this. So let me pause here again. You are capable now of building strong teams. What if you went back to work or school on Monday and stopped imposing goals on your teams, but instead invited your teams to the goal-setting process? Ask them to come up with shared goals and translate them into more granular joint plans that show both to-dos and deliverables. I'm convinced you would become more effective leaders, capable of building strong teams and setting them up for success. And then you can focus on execution. And the last three elements of the leadership house are about execution. And the first element, another buzzword in leadership, is accountability. So what means accountability? Accountability means that we hold our team members accountable for both the tasks and the results they achieve. To be honest, tasks do not matter, only results matter. And this is also why it's so important that joint plans show also the results to be delivered. Accountability is important, but many leaders shy away from holding their team members accountable because they fear these crucial conversations, these one-on-ones in which they might have to give candid bad feedback, but they do not have to if they follow the leadership house framework. If they follow the leadership house framework, they have built trusting relationships with their team members. And based on trust, the person receiving feedback knows it's not about them, it's always about the topic and the team. Certainly, we can only hold team members accountable for the results they achieve if we also empower them accordingly. Empowerment is the last pillar of the leadership house and another buzzword. The little detail that makes empowerment so powerful is not that we provide our team members with the tools and resources they need. The little detail that makes empowerment so powerful is that we as leaders empower our team members to make important decisions themselves. This may make us feel as if we were losing control, but in fact empowerment is not about losing control. Empowerment is about motivating people, about reconfirming that we trust in the capabilities of our team members, and it is about giving control to those who are best equipped to handle it, our strong team members. our strong team that we have built and that we have set up for success. And the beauty of empowerment is that we then can focus on our job as a leader. We as a leader are in charge of people, in charge of leading them and in charge of execution, making sure that our teams now execute the plans. There are many leadership challenges out there, external challenges like the pandemic and internal challenges like self-doubt. The solution is always to focus on what we can control. We cannot control external challenges like the pandemic, but we can control how we as leaders in our teams cope with these external challenges. And the Leadership House will help us do so. It is the system that you can now follow to overcome the leadership challenges out there. So let me sum up. To become a more effective leader, you build strong teams based on trust. You ensure that they embrace the same values. You ask them to tell the what to do, to translate vision into reality in terms of shared goals and joint plans. You hold your team members accountable and empower them. And then finally, let us imagine, what if you went home, went to work on Monday or to school and applied the Leadership House framework? I'm sure you would become a more effective leader. But what if you went home and shared the Leadership House framework also with your team members and asked them to do the same in their teams? I am absolutely convinced your effective leadership and the Leadership House framework would trickle down the organizations, your teams, and would turn former followers into leaders themselves. And if we share the Leadership House framework with the broader organizations out there in lack of leadership, I'm also convinced we would end up with significantly more than 17% of leaders saying they feel comfortable overcoming the leadership challenges out there. Thank you.